Let's see if I can get this one.
إن لنجعل وانشقت واليوم فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فيقول هاؤم اقرءوا كتابيه إني ظننت أني ملاق حسابيه فهو في عيشة راضية في جنة عالية قطوفها دانية كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية وأما من أوتي كتابه بشماله فيقول يا ليتني لم أوت كتابيه ولم أدر ما حسابيه يا ليتها كانت القاضية ما أغنى عني ماليه هلك عني سلطانيه خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه ثم في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه إنه كان لا يؤمن بالله العظيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين
الحمد لله ونستعين ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا وسيئات اعمالنا واشهد ان لا اله الا الله لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه من تبعهم الى يوم الدين. In Surat Al-Haqqah, actually, it gives us this vivid portrait about the day of judgment. And the name who Allah uses in the surah, which Al-Haqqah. Al-Haqqah means the inevitable, the truth, the reality, Haqq, from the truth. But there is other names used in the Quran. Actually, so many names, but some of the names like Al-Qari'ah, the striking calamity that will come sudden. Al-Tamma, the overwhelming disaster. The Al-Azifa, the imminent that coming. Al-Qiyamah, the resurrection, and many other names that talk about. And it's an interesting, each name that Allah uses, even from the sound of it and the meaning of it, give a different, basically character to this day, the day of judgment. And the surah starts with this, giving attention to the seriousness of this day by actually repeating the word Al-Haqqah 3 times. And this is almost as like a rhetorical challenge to people. Can't you think about this? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-Haqqah, Mal-Haqqah, Wama Adraka Mal-Haqqah. The Al-Haqqah, the inevitable. What is the inevitable? And what made you know what is the inevitable? This is the truth, in this regard. And then after this, immediately after it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us dramatic events. Before giving the dramatic event of that day, give us a dramatic event that happened in this life by giving a list of prophets or nations whom their prophet, when they came, and rejected, and Allah destroyed them in this life. So because sometimes people say, oh, Allah is punishing the hereafter. Allah punishing this life too. About all of those people that Allah lists for you. So don't feel that the punishment in the hereafter is not going to happen. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this example in the surah about Samud, which is the people of Salih. He destroyed them. Ad, Prophet Hud, and then the Pharaoh and his people came from after rejected Prophet Musa. And then Al-Mu'tafikat, and then referring to Prophet Lut, and then the people of Nuh and Prophet Nuh. So they, in the surah, directly immediately come that their destruction, remember, there was a destruction to nations before you, and in the hereafter, they will face even a more severe punishment. So don't think that, you are going to be out from punishment in this life and also in the hereafter. Then the surah transition directly to this scene of it, what is going to happen now. And here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ نَفْخَةً وَاحِدَةً. When the trumpet will be blown one time. then was وحملت الأرض والجبال فدكتت دكة واحد. Yeah, subhanallah. If you can imagine, I think this is the beauty of the Quran. Actually, you can sit down, close your eye, and imagine the pictures of it, what is happening. So it is not just a word, but an image too associated. So people sometimes say you have a right brain or left brain, analytical and so on. Actually, the Quran addresses both of them and give you this. So وَحُمِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ وَالْجِبَالُ, that the earth and the mountain will be lifted, and then they will be crushed in one piece. Everything will collapse, And then Allah, وَانْشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَيَوْمَئِذٍ وَقَعَتِ الْوَقِعَةُ. On that day, then the great event will happen. That's when the earth will change, in this regard. And then وَانْشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فهي يومئذ وهي, and then the sky will turn apart. So the sky will open now. And then وَالْمَلَكُ عَلَى أَرْجَائِهَا. And then when the sky will open, the angel will be on the borders of everything, And then وَيَحْمِلُ عَرْشَ رَبِّكَ فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ ثَمَانِيَةٌ. And then at that time, Allah subhanahu will come, the throne of your Lord will be above that day and carried by 8, in this regard. So that is a scene of what is going to happen to this one. And this is why it's interesting, people sometimes, when like they do the prayer, they try to do the sunnah, move from one place to another. And people say, oh, because so the earth can testify on behalf. I say, well, there would not be earth. The earth will be torn apart at that time, So that concept actually is not because the earth will testify in you, but because the Prophet ﷺ said, after you pray the fard, the obligatory, you must sit down before you pray the sunnah or move from the place to pray the sunnah, so people would not think that the sunnah is part of the fard. It's almost like Imam Malik doesn't like to people to pray the 6 days of Shawwal immediately after Ramadan, because he doesn't want people after a while think that, oh, these 6 days are obligatory as part of Ramadan. So sometime, there is always a reason why things happen. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moves, and this is the ayat that we listen to, and describe 2 categories of people. And these 2 categories of people distinguished by how they receive their book. Everyone will receive a record of all his deeds, what he said, and everything together. Sometimes people think, wait a minute, if I have a book, has all my record from the time I became mature until the end of the time, it's going to be huge. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, actually, kitabun marhum, a digitized book. And now, in the past, they probably would never understood what it means. But now, we get this a small memory stick or a thumb drive. We can have all of that information about you with videos and everything, for it. So we'll give in one. The trouble with it is which hand you are going to receive with it. Are you going to receive with the right hand or the left hand? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say there is people who one category will receive with the right hand. Another category will be forced to receive it with the left hand. So you are not going to have a choice. It's not like, you put the right hand because the right hand will be the successful. No, your hand, you receive it with one. And everybody will be able to read his book. Whatever information in it. Even if the people who do not know how to read, they will be forced to read it in that regard. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and talk about the first one. And think about it. If you really think, just if you close your eye and try to imagine, you're standing here on the day of judgment, and then you are going to be called now to receive your book of record. And then that if you receive it with the right hand, you are going to be one of paradise, even if you get questioned about the book. And if you receive it in the left hand, you are going to be in true misery, Let me, which one?
He asked for that was given his recording at left hand.
The first one?
Second.
Oh, we better correct this one here. I have to correct it.
Right hand.
Yeah, the first one, I'm imagining the first. Yeah. How do you do this now? Let's do this here. Yeah, I think it's better to correct this one here. Yeah. Screen sharing is stopped because you turn it. Okay. Yep. Let me go back here. Sorry, you guys. I mean, there's a big mistake here. It cannot. What I was given was. Yeah. I'm glad you guys catch it. Okay. Yeah, I need to share it. Yeah, I'm going to share again. Brother Anis, we're going to confuse you now here with this one. Sorry. Okay, glad you guys did. Okay, so forget about the second one that you guys put. You moved it quickly to the, but the first one, okay, you received your book with the right hand. So what are you going to do? So that person will say, فيقول هاؤم اقرأوا كتابي. Oh, now look, read my book now. Now because now the book has good, stuff in it. So read my book. It's almost like you get your certificate or exam or something, and you go say, look at what I have done, with grades in it. إني ظننت أني ملاق حسابية. I thought I was going to be held accountable for what I have done. And then فهو في عيشة راضية في جنة عالية. Then he will be a pleasant life in an elevated paradise. So that is the level of a joy. Sometimes if a good reciter, when he read this ayah, he read the voice with the type that is so happy, That's why sometimes the reciter can actually, even if you don't understand the verses, it will show, is it a happy person or a sad person in that regard. Then if you go now, that poor person, who may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who doesn't make any one of us among them, which is going to receive his book with his left hand. He will force will lift his hand. And then, وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِشِمَالِهِ. What do you think he's going to say? Now, whoever will have now receive his book with his left hand, he will say what? He said, no, the left hand. He said, I wish I have not been given any record, فيقول لا يا ليتني لم آت أوتى كتابية. I wish I couldn't have this. I didn't see this stupid book, the grade here for me. ولم أدري ما حسابي, and I wouldn't know what is my account. يا ليتها كانت القضية. I wish when I died, that's it. That will be the end of life for me. Nothing, no resurrection, يا ليتها كانت القضية. I wish I had been the end, that this my end. ما أغنى عني مالية. Where is my wealth? My wealth has not helped me. And then هلك عني سلطانية, my authority. I was a president, I was whatever higher position, my authority has gone away from me. And what will be said to them, to him, to the angel? Now the command will come to the angel for this person. He said, خذوه فغلوه. Seize him and shackle him in a chain. And then ثم الجحيم صلوه. Then throw him in the blazing fire. ثم في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه. Then bind him in a chain that has 70 links in it long, and they drag him to the hellfire. Now, you can actually, if somebody is good in drawing, can actually draw that image of a person who being dragged with a chain that has 70 links in it and the hellfire in front of it. And if you can bring in these images in your mind, you would not do any mistakes, frankly. Why the number? Yeah. It just to give you, it just to give you that sense of an imagery that is right. Because if you draw it, because remember, an image has to come imprinted in your mind. If you draw the image in your mind, each time you want to commit something, you saw the chain is dragging you, you will directly say, wait a minute, is a pleasure from this one? equivalent to the punishment from this when you do it. And that's why I said if you stop at all of this imagery in the Quran, it actually helps you directly to do it. And by the way, brain actually work this way. You know, I told you this several times. I was reading something about if you want to stop something, if you want to do something, you have, particularly for kids, if you have a homework and you keep delaying, or a task at work, and you keep delaying it. If you really want to do it, excite yourself to do it, make yourself an image what happened if you didn't do it. So you can think about it, start thinking, oh, if I didn't do this homework or this assignment, I'm going to be laid off. My bank is going to possess my house. My kids is going to be homeless. I'm going to be this. Try to draw that image to yourself. And I guarantee you, you will rush and do the job and try it. I tried it one time with one of my technicians. He used to smoke tobacco. So I came one time to him. I said, try to do this experiment. I told you this story before. If I said the story, I wouldn't have to say, but I'll say it to other people didn't hear it, because it really, you can try it. Even for doing homework for the kids, try to put that image. So I came to him, I said, Bruce, what's going to happen? You are going to have a cancer in your mouth because of the chewing tobacco. It's going to have cancer. They will have a surgery on it and they will move the cheek, and you are going to be so ugly that we have to fire you because we cannot look at your face. And your wife is going to divorce you. And then, somebody is going to marry your wife and abuse your kids. And I tried to give him all of this. I said, imagine all of this just because of chewing tobacco. I guarantee, next day, he came chewing gums. I'm telling you, if you really can put that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described this imagery about hell in so many verses and heaven, because if you imagine it, then in that case, you directly would do good and never do the bad, because you said, wait a minute. But you have to get the image to your mind. And it will be, nice for us to reflect on it. So when you read some of these ayat, just think about it. Think about really a person. We said, why the details about it? Because the details can allow you to create the image, for it. Go ahead.
In the Arabic of those times, in that culture, number 7 used to be for several, that is more than 2. Number 70 used to denote many. So when you read 70, imagine many.
Yeah.
When you read 7, it's several.
Yeah, but actually, in this case, it might not be true. I'll tell you why. Because if you go to the ancient Egyptian, drawing it, you find in some of the tombs, they have a person dragged with a chain that has 70 links in it, that tell you that this type of revelation, actually, it's not just for us. It came to previous people too. So that image, it is there, and they were able to draw it in it. Anyway, but here is why this person is taking and done this, being, subjected to all of this. Allah gave us the reason. إنه كان لا يؤمن بالله العظيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين. So that means what he did not believe in Allah, the most great, ولا يحض, and does not, nor he did encourage people to feed the needy or the poor. So what is the connection here? Exactly. You cannot claim you have iman without having compassion, having mercy in your heart. And this is why here is the link. The link is it not only because you cannot claim you are a believer, and don't worry about the poor people and the needy people, So, and the best way, if somebody is hungry, you cannot feed him. Okay, you cannot afford to feed him. Are you discouraging people from feeding? And by the way, this is something often happen. When people don't want to do something, to feel good about themselves, they discourage other people from doing it. Like you want to contribute, to say Islam in Spanish. Then somebody doesn't want to contribute. They come and tell you, but they don't have an organization. You don't know who's running it, and so on. They give you so many ways to create doubt in your mind that your contribution is no good. Yeah, you don't want to contribute. Let the person who contribute, do it. Don't become. So here is also, they don't deserve the food because they should have worked. And therefore, why you feed them? You encourage them to be this way. No, you don't worry about it. Let the person who feed, but never discourage. If you are not going to do it, don't discourage somebody else from doing the good. Then the surah goes in to basically prove the authenticity of the reliability of the Prophet ﷺ and the authenticity of the Quran and the reality of the day of judgment too. So Allah subhanahu comes in closer. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. All of what you have listened, it is a word from a noble messenger. وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ قَلِيلًا مَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. It is not a word of a poet, because you see the sound of it is almost has this rhythmic sound in it. وما هو نور ولا بقول كاهن قليلا ما تذكرون تنزيل من رب العالمين ولو تقول علينا بعض الأقاويل لأخذنا منه باليمين ثم لقطعنا منه الوتين فما منكم من أحد من عنه عاجزين. So here is the issue. The issue is Allah subhanahu affirms that these words is not a word of a poet, and it's not a word of some foretellers, and this is a revelation from the Lord, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then here it becomes, although it comes as a warning to the Prophet, but warning to anybody who engage in da'wah. Had he falsely attributed any word to us, if you are going to deliver the word of Allah subhanahu, don't sugarcoat it. Say it like Allah said it, because most people try to diffuse the issue to make it like politically correct. No, don't do it, because Allah subhanahu here warns, and he said, if you have contributed any word, then Allah subhanahu said, we would have seized by him by the right hand and severed his life artery. We'll take care of him. We'll destroy him, basically, in this. And none of you could protect him. So if you are going to do the da'wah, be honest about it. Tell the truth as it is. And the best way to know that you're telling the truth, tell the words that Allah said. Not in your own word in this regard. Then the surah concludes with that this is a reminder. What is in this surah is a reminder. وَإِنَّهُ لَتَذْكِرَةٌ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This, in fact, is a reminder for those people who have taqwa. وَإِنَّا لَنَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مِنْكُمْ مُكَذِّبِينَ. And we know there are some people, views, going to deny even the truth that you come to you. وَإِنَّهُ لَحَسْرَةٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. But those people who will do this will have an anguish in the hereafter for the disbeliever. وَإِنَّهُ لَحَقُّ الْيَقِينَ. And this is surely the true certainties. It is the absolute certainty of what exists, what Allah says about what that been said in the Quran. فَسَبِّحْ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الْعَظِيمِ. Glorify the name of your magnificent Lord. Lord, here is something is an interesting. When you come to certainty, Allah subhanahu, give us actually three types. You cannot say this is 100% certain. I'm not 100% certain. But Allah give you the gradation. What is the gradation? Allah comes in and said there is something which ilmul yaqeen, certainty based on knowledge of a trustworthy person. So I tell you something and you trust me, you believe in it. You're certain that is true. But this is a level of certainty. But the other certainty, which is higher level of certainty, we call it aynul yaqeen. That certainty that you do it by seeing your eye. What do you think is the certainty of knowing the hell? Which way? Aynul yaqeen or ilmul yaqeen? Ilmul yaqeen, we just read it. Aynul yaqeen, when you see it in the hereafter. The last one, which is the highest level of certainty, which is haqqul yaqeen, the ultimate certainty now. When do we want to see it? Was our certainty for thereafter to reach, for the hell to be reached at that level? Anybody wants to be certain 100% that hellfire is there? Absolutely not, because the only way to be 100% certain of the hellfire to be in it, and this is, and this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so there is many verses in it. And Haqq al-Yaqeen came to two things in the Quran, came to related to revelation, the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is the absolute certainty. Why? Because every verse in the Quran is validated, But now there is another time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Haqq al-Yaqeen, and this is the people who's going to go to the hellfire. He said, وَأَمَّا إِنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ الضَّالِّينَ. These people who are, rejected the truth and so on. فَنُزُلٌ مِّنْ حَمِيمٍ وَتَصْلِيَةُ جَحِيمٍ. إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ حَقُّ الْيَقِينِ. That those people who deny the truth and go astray, they will be welcome to scalding fire, burning in hell. This is the ultimate certainty. This is حق اليقين. This is the highest level, because now how can you deny? It's not an information, it's not seeing, you already feeling it, you're in it. And then, but now there is another verse that gives the two of them. كلا لو تعلمون, this في سورة التكاثر. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين. That's what the word علم اليقين can. If you only know with the certainty of knowledge, لترون الجحيم. You will see, you already know about the Jahim, about hell, based on the knowledge, but you will see it. ثم لترونها عين اليقين, and you will see it with the certainty of sight. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us, that's it. That's a maximum certainty. We want to know about hell, We'll let the other people go to this ultimate حق اليقين in this regard. There is another, okay, this is another one. What is Surat Al-Haqqah started with? Al-Haqqah ما الحق وما أدراك ما الحق. This is just an extra for it. You find in the Quran, actually, there is وما أدراك. أدراك is a past. And then there is وما يدريك. What makes you know, in a present tense. وما أدراك, what made you know. And وما يدريك, what makes you know. One is past, one in present. And then it comes in, if you look to the ayat, they tell you if it's used in the past, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ means that we're referring to something that you know. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ in the present, what makes you know, it refers to something you will never know. It's not, so if we read مثلا let's say the day of the hour, the time of hour. Allah subhanahu would say what? وَمَا أَدْرَكَ السَّاعَةِ? No, would say وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ السَّاعَةِ, like في سورة الشورى, وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ الله الذي أنزل الكتاب بالحق والميزان وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّ السَّاعَةَ قريب. لأنك أنت, you don't know what is the ساعة. How about the other one? Would Allah use it? If you want to know what's inside the people, their level of belief, So Surah Abbas, Allah subhanahu, وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى. How do you know that he is, he knows? You cannot judge, the basically the level of purity that exists in anybody's one's heart in this regard. So just an extra things interesting for. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم فضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves a garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, we have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aishawani, our grandson Isa. Oh Allah, grant to all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, grant us the power and the ability that we may be grateful for the favor you have bestowed upon us and our parents, and that we may do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you. Oh Allah, we seek from you all of the good, whether we know it or we don't. And we seek your refuge from all evil, whether we know it or we don't. Oh Allah, we have many of our brethren who are suffering from oppression. Oh Allah, and a just world. Oh Allah, heal their trauma. Grant them full peace and prosperities. Oh Allah, we ask you every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, his needs have been fulfilled, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.